Welcome to the Sharpway Show. Very happy to see you this evening. It is 7 p.m. on the East Coast, which means, yep, you got to look at my mug. That's kind of how it works. I do make the rules, and that is the rule. So I'm glad that you are here with me today. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is very interesting and apropos, I think. Did I sound cool when I said that? So yes, I think it is because people have been talking about things like censorship and media narrative and misinformation and all those types of things. And how do we break through that? How do we get around that so we can actually hear what we want to hear and talk about what we want to talk about? Well, I have someone here who can give us some insight and maybe make us laugh, maybe not, but still, either way, give us some insight if at all possible. He is a video journalist who focuses on comedy. So that's a good thing, right? His name is Matt Orfalea. How are you, sir?
Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me.
I am glad to be here. Glad you're here.
I'm sure we'll be able to laugh about some stuff, but well, my kind of comedy is video comedy. So unfortunately, stand-up public speaking is not my thing, but I'm going to give it a shot with you tonight.
I love it. And if you want to follow some of his stuff, you may do so. Head on over to Twitter and follow him at what looks like Orf, but actually isn't. It's 0RF. So it looks like Orf, but if you're listening, don't type in ORF, type in 0RF to see him on Twitter, or you can watch him also on YouTube at actual ORF Orf. So either one of those will work. You can follow him on either of those two. So I guess the biggest thing I want to bring up here is you probably have seen, you've been paying attention, the whole idea of misinformation has been a big deal over at Davos, the WEF, all the heavy hitters who are self-appointed rulers of the world. They have decided that this is what we should be concerned about. But it isn't just that. And you've brought this up more than once. You're concerned, as am I, with not just whether it's misinformation or not, but what information is censored and not heard, or what narrative is carved. And you've had to have seen this multiple times, right?
Seen the Davos talking about disinformation. Yeah. And it's not just that, it's, all the actors who are for censorship are talking about we have to censor because of disinformation. But I mean, it's completely backwards. Like that's how disinformation gets a hold of people, when you can censor the alternative views.
Yes, absolutely. Right. That is my problem that I have with this idea is, I guess if there was some magic way that I knew, right, I'm always right. Like if I knew I could always be right every single time, if I knew that to be true, then maybe I'd be okay in theory with pushing people out. But no one is always right. I mean, I'm smart and I'm not always right. So clearly not everybody else is always right, no matter what, right?
Yeah, and that's what's so attractive to the authoritarians about censorship, is because if you can censor everyone else who says something, to the contrary, you're going to be always right. You're going to look like you're always right.
Well, but the funny part is, I think that was the goal. But in today's world, I feel like it actually doesn't work, because there are so many alternatives and so much niche media and so many small groups of people who gather together in other areas, that while I can try to censor everything to show that I'm the only guy and I'm smart, in reality, that comes out. I mean, all this that happened with COVID, all this that happened with elections, right? All that stuff, it came out anyway. I mean, later, obviously, right? They were able to delay the pain. I think that's true, but they don't end it. And isn't it actually worse after, or no?
After what? Sorry.
Right. So I sit here and I say, look, everyone has to know that the only way to live is to drink coffee out of a cool Larry Sharp mug. That's it. If you don't do that, you're going to die. So I do that and I preach that for 6 months, and people stop buying it. And if you don't have your Larry Sharp mug, people yell at you and get mad at you for not buying your Larry Sharp mug. But then 6 months later, we realize, yeah, it meant nothing. Like the mug was nothing. It doesn't matter whether you drink the mug or not. Don't I now look worse than if I just said, hey,
oh, sure,
I just want you to buy my mug. Like there's nothing special about it. I just would like you to buy my mug.
Yeah.
Aren't I worse off if I lied up front?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, but one solution you have is to censor people who will expose you. And that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I do see that. But
they tried to do it from the very beginning. Like, the Twitter files from Lee Fong, right?
Oh, yes.
Pfizer, think tanks or nonprofits, they were, petitioning the social media companies, big tech, to censor people who, alleged bots for just
Right.
criticizing and asking very basic questions, like, if your vaccine is so important, like, will you donate it to the rest of the world? Um, and they petitioned the big tech to censor those kind of
Sure.
tweets.
Sure. So,
Yeah.
but you've decided to use humor as a way of breaking through this, and sometimes even parody, but sometimes just humor. You've done both. And you've decided to use the medium of video, which can be challenging because, as you know, YouTube can also censor, right?
Mhm.
And YouTube is the biggest. I mean, when it comes to this, YouTube is the big boy on the planet. I mean, there's no question. I mean, there are others out there, obviously, the Rumbles of the world and the Rockfins, of course. But when it comes to just sheer numbers, I mean, YouTube is the big boy without question.
Yeah.
So you are on YouTube, but you're also on all the other things. You're on Rumble, you're on Substack, you're on blah, blah, blah. How does that work?
Well, yeah, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, owned by the largest search engine in the world. And so, well, when I started, that was the only option, YouTube. That was the first. And I mean, I think it's important to be on there if you want to reach as many people as you can. But yeah, if you want to talk about anything controversial that matters,
Yes.
there's a really good chance you're going to get censored. I've been censored dozens of times, if you count, Facebook in addition to YouTube. And
What does censoring
yeah.
mean to you? How does that work?
Well, there's, obviously classic censorship is just deleting,
Right.
your words, your text, your video. But there's other ways they do it. They'll suppress you. Suppression is a form of censorship.
Sure.
If you just talk about just topics, if they don't delete it, sometimes they'll just suppress you. Another form of soft censorship, I'd say, is demonetization.
Oh, right.
Because that's a very strong disincentive to talk about certain topics. And people, and it seems like, at least in the past, I haven't been able to, I'm not a coding analysis guy, but it seems to have coincides with traffic that your video gets. So if you're demonetized, you also get less traffic.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So look, that's a perfect segue. If you guys want to help me do that, then do me a favor, like this video. If you like what I'm saying and you want me to get around those algorithms, then do me a favor and click the like button. It is very helpful. That gets me out there, which is awesome. And if you're worried about me being demonetized, you can fix that by doing a super chat on Larry Sharp on YouTube. So you can do that if you want to. But either way, please click that like button. It is there. Clicking it does matter tremendously.
Oh,
I want to show one of your videos if I could, Matt.
Cool. Well, let me just make one comment.
Go ahead, please.
I didn't mention, why go. Well, maybe it's self-evident, it's obvious, because you're going to get censored on YouTube, you got to go to these other platforms. But another big reason to go on these other platforms is when you get censored on YouTube, you can say, look, this, they just censored this video. Because if you didn't have those alternative sites where you can mirror your content, YouTube can say it is whatever they want to say it is. Oh, it was hate speech. It was, blah, blah, blah. And, unless you can show that they're lying, that's just going to, be the de facto truth.
No, I like what you're saying, right? The point being, if you don't, this gives you the receipts, if that makes any sense, right?
Exactly. It's essential. It's so important.
Yes. So we have to go into the Rumbles and the locals of the world to do that. But man, let's go to the next step if I could for a second. Doing all of that, right? I know, to be forward, I got shadow banned right when COVID hit, horribly. My views and traffic went down literally 85% within a couple days, just slaughtered. I used to just do my show on one thing. It was like just on YouTube or just on Facebook. But I got so hammered and so shadow banned. I now have to stream this on 8 different platforms and then reload it up on 3 or 4 others. I'm on like 18 different platforms now. right? What a pain.
Yeah.
What I mean, I have to rely on volunteers to do this to help me out. I got to have some staff to do this too. I mean, it's a lot of work to make all that happen. Is it worth it for you, Matt, to do that, or should you just sell out and talk about puppies and flowers and
Yeah,
just
I
don't get in
can't do
trouble?
that. I can't do that. Like, it's just too I can't do that. Um, so obviously for me and, anyone who's like, when I see something's getting censored, like, that makes me more interested in it. There's that
Right.
Streisand effect. It affects me. And, I'm the type of person that's like, I'll really dig in. Like, I want to find that primary source material. And it's not always easy, right? If it's not always
Sure.
backed up in a bunch of places, and if at all. And so, yeah, I want to cover that stuff. Because very, very often it's the takedown for whatever reason it was taken. It's totally misrepresented.
Right. Right. Yeah, but there's something that we saw on Twitter which actually bothers me more. I always assumed that the reason why they were censoring us or beating us up was because some algorithm came in. It was some bot that did it, right? So that it picked up, Matt said the bad word, whatever is the bad word of the day.
Yeah.
The bot picks it up and goes, aha, bad word, trash Matt, right? Now that's bad, don't get me wrong. But we found out from the Twitter files, no, it was people. It was people who said, no, Matt said the bad word. That actually bothers me more.
Yeah.
If it was just a bot, at least now that means I could go to a human and the human go, oh, that's dumb. Let's put Matt back up. Don't worry about it. But when it's actually people, that means we can shame them into doing the right thing. And I think you've seen it happen before, right? They get so embarrassed or ashamed to go, well,
the alleged right thing.
Kidding.
Yeah. The so-called right thing.
Yes. Then they just change and go, okay, let me just do this.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's worse.
It's so bad. We've seen it in the Twitter files. I want to mention some fairly recent Facebook files that came out as a result of the lawsuits against the Biden administration being filed by, I think, the Attorney General of Missouri and Louisiana, and generals of Louisiana and Missouri and Louisiana. Okay,
it's attorneys general.
Attorneys General. Okay, thank you. Yep. They found that Joe Biden's digital communications director, Rob Flaherty, was communicating with Facebook and, heads high ups to delete content that was critical of the Biden administration policies. That is so screwed up.
Absolutely.
And that what this case is about is that a First Amendment violation, because this is the government. This is the Biden administration coming in and pressuring big tech to censor. And I absolutely believe that's a First Amendment violation. There's
a part of me that actually is, it's going to sound crazy. We're going to be mad when I say it, but there's a part of me that actually feels for the people of Twitter and Facebook. Don't get me wrong. A bunch of them obviously were happy and gleeful to do their jobs. But I bet there were others who were just scared. I bet there were some people there like, wait a minute, are they going to arrest us or shut us down if we don't do this? Like, I bet a bunch were actually also intimidated. So I'm sure there were people who yay, let's get these guys. I'm sure those people were there. But I'm also assuming there were some people who were just doing their job, didn't have any, malice towards left or right. And then all of a sudden the government agents are going, well, you should. And they're like, well, now I'm scared. Now I'm scared for my own self. I better do what the government says, or I might get in trouble. Or what I think is even worse, I think the government's actually right because I trust the government, right? Yeah. To me, that's worse. Yeah. But either way, I feel like there had to be people there who were bullied or intimidated. And it wasn't just a bunch of people who wanted to hammer people.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were intimidated. Intimidated by potential regulation. Also just the, the Washington smear factory and the media smear machine, just like they attacked Musk, very recently, because he said he was going to shake things up, and he has with the Twitter files. So as soon as, it was clear he was going to do that and go against the establishment's wishes and narrative, they smeared the hell out of him. Everything under the sun, personal smears, relationship smears, and then hate speech on the platform smears. What people don't remember is they did the same fucking thing to Jack Dorsey. The same thing, except under Dorsey, it was there's all these Russian bots and Russian accounts. And Jack Dorsey, what is Jack Dorsey going to do anything about it? Jack Dorsey is evil, and they smeared him just as bad and framed him just as bad as they're framing Elon Musk now.
Absolutely true. Yes. Yeah. And the other part is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and the Twitter files has shown that, all the internal Twitter communications and, internal little investigations showed that everything that the media was saying about Russia bots on Twitter was bullshit. And I'm telling you, and you're going to see more.
Yeah. I completely agree with what you're saying. I have no argument at all, but they make it to where they simply have to make the guy the cartoon villain, right? No matter what. Like all of a sudden Elon Musk is a right-wing crazy conspiracy guy when the guy votes Democrat most of the time. So whatever you might think of Elon Musk, whether you like him or hate him, whatever, to call him some crazy right-winger, the guy was like supporting Bernie. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? He's not some crazy right-winger. Again, regardless what you think of him, whether you like him, don't like him, think he's an evil billionaire or whatever you think of him, they just have to make him the thing so you can now discount everything that comes out. And now anything that comes out is, well, clearly that's now right-wing propaganda now, right?
Yeah. And you say, those terms, right-wing and left-wing, those are the most common slurs of our time. They're just slurs. They're just they're just insults, just thrown about just to discredit people, and to signal that don't pay attention. He's just a right winger. Don't pay attention. There's just a left winger.
Yes.
Those terms have no other purpose today. They mean nothing else. They are just, pathetic slurs.
Meant to disgrace.
Yeah.
Right. Meant to disgrace. Whatever it is. If my audience is left, I just call Matt a right winger. We can ignore him.
Yeah.
If my audience is right, I call him a left winger. We can ignore him now.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all that matters. Now we can ignore him. But let me go through one of your videos. This is the one from a fairly recent one from COVID. If I could show this one, and the reason why I want to bring it up is I think it's harsh but funny. It's kind of both. If I could show it, let's see if I can get this here.
Oh, no audio. Do you have audio? I'm not hearing audio. Can you hear me, Larry? There's no audio.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No. I think if you're playing it through the internet,
people can. Let me.
Oh yeah, let's hear if we have any.
Let me try it again. Perhaps I made an error. Let me try it again. I may have made a mistake on this.
Yeah, audio's out.
Let me try.
I think the problem is, if you know how to do it,
I can. Hold on. Give me a second. I must have just made an error on my click. That's all. Oh, I see what I did. Yep, I see what I did. I have to go there and then there. Okay, yes, it's my error. There we go. This should be fine.
Tonight, growing fears for COVID's youngest victim.
We're talking about how horrible, how much of a risk it is to children.
This virus is capable of killing children. It has already killed hundreds of children.
It's getting our kids.
The more cases you have, the more deaths among children.
Tragic deaths.
Coming for our children.
Kids are getting infected. Kids are getting infected. They're still getting infected.
Literally hundreds of children were infected. Kids are endangered.
They are vehicles of spread.
Children spread the virus.
It may be that children who get infected have long-term consequences.
Parents of children of all ages should assume that even the smallest symptom could be COVID.
Young children are being affected.
This virus takes its toll on our children.
This is killing children.
Children have died.
Children have died. Children could die every day.
It's killing children.
Killing children. COVID-19 is disproportionately killing children of color. Children die of COVID.
This is killing kids right now.
It's taken children's lives.
Really hitting at children.
Death, morbidity.
It is picking off young people like we've never seen.
Deaths from COVID are incredibly rare.
Wait a minute.
Among children. A death rate
Can't be
of
right.
0.0000000.
It doesn't matter how low the risk.
Risk to
The
children.
danger for children and the need for them to be vaccinated.
The only chance these children have is masking and a vaccine.
Millions of parents across the United States desperate to get their children under 12 vaccinated.
Unvaccinated kids are at risk.
Children are at high risk.
The unvaccinated are putting kids at risk.
The unvaccinated are a risk to young children. I need to be now careful for my children because of all the unvaccinated people around us.
If you are not vaccinated, do not go around children.
America shouldn't be sending unvaccinated kids to school.
Growing concern about unvaccinated children.
It's like we're playing with the lives of children by not isolating ourselves until things are under control.
Don't come out and infect my great-grandkid. You lied about your vaccine status and you sneeze on my grandchildren? That could be a crime.
I'm more worried for children than I've ever been.
Growing crisis for children. The number of kids infected with coronavirus is reaching alarming levels.
Alarming
The
numbers.
alarming surge in the number of children infected with COVID.
It's crucial for students 12 and up to get vaccinated.
We need these vaccines pretty urgently.
It really is a very urgent situation.
We need to raise the level of urgency.
The sense of urgency.
Since we've been vaccinated, how dangerous is it to be near our grandchildren?
Parents grow increasingly concerned.
Deeply concerning.
Leaving many parents concerned.
Parents concerned.
They're still
The
concerned.
reports are deeply concerning.
Kids are starting college in 3 weeks and they're not going to be alive.
So I feel like I'm sending my son
That could
into
be
a
a lie.
situation where it will be hard to protect himself.
Students who did not get vaccinated were disenrolled.
Asymptomatic students who test positive are ordered to a room where they spend 10 days in confinement. Food is dropped off once a day at the door.
Wow.
Doesn't that sound
Crazy.
extreme to you?
Our updated guidance actually says you can leave isolation after 5 days if you can wear your mask all the time,
Just 5
including
days of prison.
being able to eat meals alone so that you are not infecting others while you eat.
From your data, ages 15 to 24, the risk of death is at 0.001%.
Yeah, here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you that
Children.
There we go. So I just thought that was an interesting piece for us to show. And the reason why I bring this up is twofold. One, if you watch CNN and or MSNBC, you saw that every day. Like every day. Of course you were worried and concerned. But if you didn't watch MSNBC or CNN every day, you never saw this. Right? So literally, if you watch this, you honestly think COVID's killing kids left and right, just destroying them every day. They're just dropping dead like flies. And then the data comes out going, not even close. Not even close, right? Nowhere near that. But if you're not watching MSNBC or CNN, you're like, why are you so scared? But here's the hardest part. The elites in our world, they watch CNN and MSNBC. So the people who are making the decisions, the people who are the elites in our elite, institutions, in our colleges, in the halls of our capitals, they're all watching CNN and MSNBC. How do we get them to watch this video, Matt? How do we do that?
Well, just share it.
Do you know what I'm
retweet
saying?
it. Yeah, you just share it and retweet it. I guess the thing is, that is the big problem we have is, the polarization, the bubbles we're all pushed in. Social media can exacerbate that, but it doesn't have to. And the more conscious, we are of that issue, we can try to avoid it, but, by just recognizing the potential bubbles we're in and searching for alternative opinions, and following a variety of
But my
opinion.
worry here is, I mean, this is my one of my bigger worries, right? Right. So I watched the video, and if I'm already thinking, well, Orf is this right-wing extremist, right? If I already think that, does this not affect me? Well, it's propaganda, and I don't watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Do I do that? Or, and this is the thing, that was a funny video. People are watching. I'm getting comments. They're laughing. They're liking it. Right? So it's a funny video. You got a bunch of views on it, right? Over 10,000, 20,000 views on it, right? Whatever. You got a bunch of views on it, right?
Well, I mean, I think that one's definitely suppressed because, it's got like the COVID notification auto thing on it on YouTube.
Absolutely. But my point being, does the comedy break through? In other words, if I'm that person who goes, Matt's just some crazy right winger. But if my friend shares it with me anyway, goes, look, Larry, I know you think Matt's crazy right winger. Just watch the video. Stop complaining. You're my friend. Watch the video. And I go, fine. I'll watch this crazy guy's video. So I watch the video. Is that what gets me to go, huh? And that's the question. Do you think it's working? Do you think the comedy, I know you enjoy doing it. I know you want to do it. I know this takes you time and energy, right? This didn't take you 5 minutes to put together. This took time for you to research, edit it together, write the whole thing. I know this took time, right? So
Absolutely,
it's not 5 minutes, right? So you're working on it. Is it working?
Yeah, I think the comedy aspect absolutely helps. Just entertainment helps, period. And I mean, but also I think what helps is I try to make these videos as concise as possible. And you're just seeing each one of those clips, it's from a larger segment, right? And if to be able to see this condensed into like under 5 minutes, I think people they'll check that out. If you were to send your friend hundreds of videos and articles, which is what I go through to put these things together, then the fat chance that they're gonna check that out. So that so I think that's that helps.
There we go. Smog says, Larry, can you drop the link to that video in the YouTube chat? I can do you one better. You can just head over to YouTube and go to his channel. There's a lot of other videos just like that there also. Head over to YouTube at Orf, O-R-F, if you are listening to this, O-R-F, or follow him on Twitter at 0RF on Twitter. You can follow him there and check out all his stuff and follow him and check out all his videos. So I did one better for you, Smog. Even better. So yes, absolutely. Thank you. In addition, guys, if you're watching this and you're liking it, please hit that like button. If you think it's funny and interesting, please do so. But one more thing, if you can, support my sponsor. My sponsor is theadvocates.org. While they don't always have the cool, funny stuff, they don't always have that. They have some of it, but they don't. What they have is a bunch of very cool quizzes and surveys that people take, and you can take it, see where you land politically, and share it with your family and friends on social media. You can share this, and maybe they'll go, that's interesting. And then they'll see you're also sharing this right now, and they'll watch it. And you can then move them towards the right way of thinking. So please go to theadvocates.org. Take that quiz if you can. It's very helpful for me. And if you happen to be watching this on Twitter, then please retweet this right now. Right now, just hit retweet so that other people can see it. It really does matter. Let me grab a couple comments if I could. I got a bunch of them. Small goes on to say, fiction often reveals what reality obscures. So I think you're right with your maybe condensing of everything into one. I think that fiction actually makes it look almost like it's real. I like it. And part of you added all the little movie clips. I think that piece really changes a lot. Right?
Yeah, thanks. I think that helps it, keep it a little entertaining. Obviously, it's basically parodying the media as a horror film, right? And that is the picture they were painting around COVID. Which now don't get me wrong. Obviously, a lot of people died from it, but the majority of the population, it was never was never at risk of dying from this. Like 99.5% of the population. So, but that's not the picture.
That's not the narrative at all.
That wasn't the horror show that was shown on the media and in the newspapers.
Yeah. Pete says, Democrats during COVID, we need the government to close these businesses. We have to stop the spread. Democrats when social media companies leak Trump's accounts. Well, the private business should be free to operate as it pleases. Pete's not wrong on that one. That's right. That's true. It's absolutely true. But let me go to the other point, though, right? Does parody then, if you're doing jokes, right, getting people to watch and laugh and enjoy, does it take away from the severity? I mean, COVID does exist. It's a real thing. It does kill people, right? Nowhere near to the level, obviously, of what they said. That's obviously clear. We know that now. But if you were, say, over 65 with a couple pre-existing conditions, you got to worry, right? For you, that's the plague. If you're in that demographic, it's the plague for you. So does parody or joking, does it take away some of the severity?
I don't think so. I think when something is severe, all the more, helpful it is to laugh about it. Because what the hell else can you do? I mean, if really like, I want to laugh about it. Who wants to live a horror? You want to live in the zombie movie, or
right.
You think you prefer to laugh about it? Personally.
Well, the thing
I'd rather get to live in a comedy like Shaun of the Dead. Personally,
yes. The thing I bring up often is the idea of Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks, obviously classic comedian from many years ago. I think he's still alive. He's like in his 90s now. But he did movies like Blazing Saddles and History of the World Part 1, all those types of things, all those old classic, funny movies. Mel Brooks is Jewish, and he was literally in the military in Europe, in the army during World War II, and he lost family members in the Holocaust, right? And that guy joked about Hitler like there was no tomorrow. Like he joked about Hitler like all the time, like day in, day out. He's always joking about Hitler. And the guy was literally Jewish, literally in Europe during the war and lost relatives in the Holocaust. And he did that. And I think this goes to your point. He's like, I'm going to laugh about this.
Yeah.
Almost like a self-defense mechanism, I would guess.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's just fun. It's just the right thing to, it's the natural and healthy fucking thing to do. And everyone's talking about health. You have to lock yourself out in a fucking closet for your health. No, I think it might be a little more healthy if we have a little laugh about this, even though it's horrible. Let's fucking laugh. And Mel Brooks, you brought up Mel Brooks. And, when I make these videos, and especially when I do use a bunch of movie clips, anyway, I've looked through a bunch of movies. I spent a lot of time just scrolling through movies, and I found a great little Mel Brooks nugget in a Little Rascals movie. Actually, he just has one scene, and the Little Rascals go into the bank for a loan to rebuild their clubhouse, and he's just shooing them off, and they're like, "You can't treat people like this," and he goes, "You're not people, you're children." Anyway,
that's very good. That is good. I like that. So Joel says, my daughter thought she was going to die. I knew a lot of people who did.
Yeah.
And one of the things that scared me is, right, we're talking about this idea of misinformation or whatever the case may be. I remember here where I live in Queens, New York, seeing young people outside running. They're clearly fit. I know they've got the vax. They're running. And they're wearing a mask outside alone.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Wow. Like, wow. Right?
Yeah.
You're in your 20s, in physical shape, you can see. Sure, you got the jab for sure. You're alone. You're outside. You're running. You have a mask on. And it wasn't like I saw one of them. I saw many of them on a daily basis. And I thought, wow, it is crazy. It's crazy.
I live in DC, and I see that a lot, and it is it's freaky, because it's not totally goes against the science. And I've literally seen people driving outside of NIH with masks on in their cars, alone in their cars.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that is, I mean, it's just like on a, anyway, so that's pretty amazing. And I mentioned that Mel Brooks joke about you're not people, you're children. That reminded me of some clips that I didn't get to fit in to the video. Some ex-CNN expert is, fear mongering about all the hospitals filling up, and all these people and all people dying from COVID, and Jim Acosta interjects, "Yeah, children too." It's like, okay, Jim, thanks. Yes, children are people. Yeah, but he had to add children.
Had to add that. Yes.
Yeah, even,
had to ask. I had to add it. Yes. Patty says, I'm more worried about children being misinformed or indoctrinated. I agree, right? That I am more worried about that also. I want my children to get it, right? To be savvy and to be smart and to think. That's what I want, right? And I have kids, right? And I want them to be, dealt with. And sadly for us, when you have children, you have double peer pressure, right? If it's just me, I have peer pressure on me. But when I have children, now it's what kind of father are you, right? So I now have the double peer pressure, and then her, friends, parents. I get triple, right? It's tough when you have kids. Absolutely. I don't know, Matt. Do you have any kids?
I don't.
So you only got regular pressure.
Well, but yeah. I mean, I have. Yeah, I've experienced being a kid.
Yes, there we go. Kevin says, I can't believe anyone fell for that. But the point, Kevin, is if you're watching, this is the thing, particularly if you're older, right? Yeah. I remember this, and a lot of you youngsters won't get this. But if you're my age or older, CNN, you still remember it as the true source for real news. Because in the 80s and 90s, it was almost the only source for real news, right? That was, and when the Gulf War came, it had the correspondence there. CNN was the thing, right? You believed it, and that's still kind of in our heads. If you're older than me, you remember the Walter Cronkites of the world, right? How those people were the real source for news, right? My age, we remember CNN being the source for news. So there is still, I think, that image or feeling in my age group and older that, well, it's CNN, so if they say it, that means it must be real. And there are a lot of people who still buy it. Now, the youngsters, like my daughter, my youngest daughter is 19. I mean, also is 19. She doesn't watch TV at all. So she doesn't care what CNN says. But my age group, we do. It's an issue.
Yeah. And what sucks is YouTube, we talked about how it's got these big censorship problems. And what they will do, I didn't mention one of the biggest ways that they censor. And that is they have these separate tiers. They have they recognize what they call, quote, authoritative sources.
Right.
And they consider, what do they consider authoritative sources? All the traditional news outlets, CNN, New York Times, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, all the networks, and they promote those in the algorithm. So it's just awful. and so when you search anything, you're gonna get most likely, at least one of those things at the very top, and certainly they'll be, filling the top section more than they would if it was a completely, organic search like it used to be, which would just be based on, how many times is the term actually uttered in the video, how many people like the video. And that brings me to another huge form of censorship on YouTube. And that is they've disabled the like and dislikes.
What do you mean?
So you can still like and dislike a video, but they don't let you see it anymore. They don't let you see the tally anymore. So you used to be able to see the tally, and that was a very good indicator of whether, this video was junk or not, whether it was a scam or not. And very often, because, news segments often are total BS, the CNN and other news sites, their authoritative sources would get downvoted. a ton, especially because they were promoting them in front of people, when it wasn't what they were searching for.
Right. Absolutely.
And so they're getting all these downvotes. And so what was YouTube's solution to that? It wasn't, maybe this whole boosting authoritative sources system we have here is terrible and is a total failure. No, what they did was they disabled or muted, censored people from seeing the dislikes.
Right.
It's horrible.
Got it. No, I get it completely. And then they said it was because they cared about you.
And
they didn't want your feelings to be hurt.
Yeah. And they didn't point to one fucking example of a person complaining about dislikes. And they called them
true.
Yeah, they called it dislike attacks. They said, we have all these users who are, we don't want users to be victims of dislike attacks. And that's bullshit for so many reasons.
Absolutely.
And here is a huge one: is anybody already had the ability to just disable, likes and dislikes or comments on their video? Anyone could do that. Could already do that. And there's they just
absolutely
did it for everybody.
Yes.
It's total BS. And they didn't give you they didn't point to one person who was a victim of these dislike attacks. Not one.
Speaking of that, don't dislike attack me. Instead, like attack me. Do that instead. Click that like button. If you like what you're hearing, please do it. It does matter. Click on that like button so that people know that you like it and people want to watch it. Help me get past those algorithms. And of course, follow, if you would, Orf on Twitter at 0RF, or follow him on YouTube at Orf on YouTube. Either one of those works. And if you're watching Twitter, then do me a favor. Retweet this right now. If you do that right now, it's going to help tremendously if you could. Let me grab another couple comments if I could. Let's see here. Thomas says, War of the Worlds radio broadcast, the first accidental fake news. That's actually true. But the funny part about it is if you ever heard it, they actually say they have disclaimers in that radio broadcast. This is a fictional portrayal, right? This is a story time. They actually said it, and people still thought it was real. Like, they gave the disclaimers, and people were like, nope, I think the aliens are coming. So I don't know. But let me go to that point if I could, right? This is important here, I think, at least, Matt. Are people going... Are people looking for comedy and going to alternatives like you, Matt Taibbi, others like that, right? Are they going there because they don't trust institutions? Or are they not trusting institutions because they're seeing what guys who are not institutions are doing? Like, which one do you know, right? I mean, the reason why I bring this up is if this was 10 years ago, there's no way a guy like Matt Taibbi gets the Twitter files. Right? It goes to a mainstream media personality. It does not go to Matt Taibbi. But now it goes to Matt Taibbi, right? That's a new thing in our media world. Which do you think comes first?
I mean, it's both. Obviously, you don't trust the mainstream media, you're going to go to independent alternative sources. Yeah. And when you read stories, which unfortunately are almost only found on independent sources about how terrible the mainstream media is, how much they lie. Right. Obviously, you're gonna, follow those independent sources more, as you should, if they're doing good reporting, good, honest reporting.
Speaking of Twitter, Steven's busting my stones. He says, "Remember that time when you thought Elon wouldn't go through with buying Twitter, Larry? Look, I will put up all the videos, all the stuff. I don't mind. He's busting my stones. What I said was, my bet was, nothing would happen in 6 months. And I was right. Nothing happened within 6 months. Right after that, he purchased. Why? That's when his time came up that if he didn't buy it, he was going to wind up losing money to his shares. So he kind of had to. He's going to be forced by the courts to buy it if he didn't do it. And he had to go sell. He had to sell shares so he could make money so he could buy the damn thing. So, yes, you're right. I did say he wouldn't. But if you remember my specifics, it was 6 months. That's because of his lawsuits. And because he was actually finding a way to get rid of Tesla stock, and that's why he was forced to buy Twitter. Anyway, besides the point, you are correct. I was incorrect in what I said. I surely should have couched it better, but I will take
you'll never see CNN or MSNBC admit to being wrong like that.
I will take my lumps. It's fine, Stephen. You take my lumps. But either way, I am happy he bought Twitter. So one of the times I'm wrong, I am very happy that I was wrong. This is a good thing for me to be wrong about. How about that? Is that okay, Stephen? I'm glad I was wrong about that. There we go. That's something at least. All right. In any case, I don't want to, I want to keep doing that. All right. The Scientific Libertarian says, boss, why aren't you wearing a mask? Me, I'm the only one here. Boss, I'm here now. Me. Well, don't be then. Well, there we go. Yes, that is one way of doing it. We do have a freedom of association, don't we? Am I wrong?
You have a, I wonder what is your arrangement with your boss? He's like, are you sure you're not the boss?
Exactly.
Speaking like it.
Maybe he's the boss.
Yeah.
That could be true. Yes, absolutely. So yes, all good. All right. Brian says that just shows what people were ignoring, that people were ignoring advertising portions of the show by the time the War of the Worlds. Oh, interesting. So maybe they were up and like they were going to the bathroom or something when that was happening. They weren't paying attention. That could be it. That could be it.
That is it is an interesting history. I remember listening to that, recorded broadcast years ago. Orson Welles, right? And
correct. Yes. Yeah. Orson Welles. That's right. Yes.
And anyway, it's just funny because today the COVID broadcasts were like, some of them that exaggerated the dangers. Yeah, it was like exactly like that, just like a
I remember what drove me crazy.
Show. Yeah, so bad that Democrats, if you poll them, they think that it's way more deadly than it actually is.
100%. Here's the thing I remember. I remember watching CNN, and there was literally a body count up there. Number of COVID deaths just popping up. You'd see just dead, more dead, more dead. I was like, what? What are we doing here? If you're watching this, you've got to believe, my God, like the world is ending.
Yeah.
All I do is see body counts, people dying. And the worst part is somebody, whoever that person was, some producer or executive producer said, it's a good idea. Why don't we keep a rolling body count in the upper right-hand corner of CNN 24/7? And we'll just keep it there. And people have to keep going back to see how many people died. And man, sadly, they were right. It actually worked. And they didn't care about the damage that was being done at all.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
But they left out some really important context. And it's always interesting. I was always noticing how, the fact checkers, that's one of their favorite phrases, missing context. But they never fact checked any of these segments, news segments, articles that left out the crucial context that 99.5% of people were totally fucking safe.
Right. Yes.
Doom, death. Missing the context that most people are going to be all right.
Yes. Well, there's a new thing now. And if you notice this, the way they're trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. The problem is, I know this is true in New York. I'm assuming it's true across the country. They were overestimating COVID deaths. And the reason why wasn't because they were mean or nasty, is because there was money behind it, right? As they shut down the hospitals, New York State, and I'm assuming other states too, but I just know it happened in New York State, literally said hospitals, you may not do any other types of operations. You couldn't do the elective surgeries where the hospitals make all their money. So the hospitals were losing money. So as the hospitals lose money, the government said, don't worry about it. For every COVID patient you take in, we will give you X dollars. It was like $26,000, something like that. All the COVID you take in. So they were giving them money. So you come in with a broken arm, they test you for COVID, you're positive on COVID, they call you a COVID patient.
Was it really 2,600? How much was it?
I think it was 20 some odd $1,000.
Jesus, 7,000? Jesus.
I think it was. I'll check my numbers, but it was something like that. It was five figures. I'm sure it was 5 figures.
Wow.
So yes, it was 5 figures. So they're getting money. So they're like, yeah, everybody's COVID. So literally you get hit by a car. I'm not joking. This is true. This is fact. You get hit by a car. They drag you in. You die on the operating table. They check you for COVID when you came to check for COVID. The person died. Did they have COVID? They had COVID when they died, but they were hit by a car. But they had COVID when they died. That was considered a COVID death. And again, the governor at the time, Cuomo, he said this. He called them presumed COVID death. That's what he called them. So we knew it was overblown. We didn't know how much it was. Was it 10%, 20%, 50%? We had no idea. Now we're figuring it out by doing what's called checking excess deaths, which is how many people die over the course of a given time, and then how many died more during the COVID time compared to other times, relative. And now we know, oh, okay, these are the actual deaths. And it's far lower, like far lower, because people used to die of the flu or of whatever, right? Hit by a car, whatever. So over the course of years,
falling
right?
down the stairs. All these are real examples. Yeah,
absolutely. So they look at excess deaths, and it's far less than it was, and no one spoke about that. And that's when I got shadow banned, when I was saying, look, the government is encouraging people to assign them as COVID deaths. These people aren't mean. They aren't trying to hurt you. They have to pay their bills. If they don't, could a hospital, again, this is New York State. I'm assuming other states follow the same thing. In New York State, if you decided to do the surgeries that the state said not to do, the state wouldn't pay you. So you had to do what the state said. So the state said nothing except COVID or emergencies. So they did. But they said if there are a problem, the COVID will pay you money to make up for it. So that's what happened. So everybody's COVID. And I don't think they lied. I'm going to be clear. I do not think the hospitals lied. I think they simply said, oh, did this person have COVID when the thing happened? COVID death. That's not a lie. The guy died and he had COVID. So that's what I think happened. And that system drives me crazy, right? That system totally drives me nuts. And I think it happened almost everywhere. So yes. So Joel says, yes, there was a motorcycle accident death from COVID. There we go. There we go. So I know you are trying to make things work, Kim, Matt, worrying about the media. I'm always focused on the government. That's like my thing, right? The government sets this up. But let me go one step further here, though. What I noticed for most people who are doing the parodies, the Babylon Bee, people like Ryan Long, and many, many others, right? Many, many people. They tend to be anti-left, if that makes any sense, right? Like it's the left that's doing the wrong thing. Is this a thing? Is this a right-left issue? Or is it because of COVID that happened this way? Or is it really a right-left issue?
Is what a left-right issue?
This idea of fake news or bad narrative or censorship, right? Is censorship really a left-right issue?
No, it is not. But unfortunately, it does seem to be more popular with the left and Democrats these days. Because they, they'll just poll more favorably, saying that we need to censor the internet. Of course, I don't think it's phrased, we need to censor the internet. It's like, oh, we need to moderate the internet.
Right.
But
that's my point you're bringing up is, again, Biden did it, but so did Trump, right? Both administrations tried to get Facebook and Twitter to do their bidding. Both tried. I think Biden was more effective at doing it, but I think Twitter Files show both sides tried to do it. I feel like Biden was more effective at it, but both tried. But I'll go one step further. If you look at the far left, they also pushed a lot of the far left off too. They canceled a lot of them also. Am I wrong on this?
Well, I mean, they're gonna anybody who's dissent.
Right.
They're gonna want to
anti-establishment.
Yeah, exactly. Now, because the censorship base is left wing, they're gonna frame it like, oh, we're just getting rid of right wingers.
Got it.
That's not true. And though I do want to correct you. I'm pretty sure at this so far, really what we've seen is the Biden was much more aggressive.
Yes.
To get big tech to censor stuff.
Yep.
I don't think, I have no doubt that, we did see some efforts from the Trump administration, for example, to censor stuff, to make it seem like, to bring down the panic level, right? Because panic makes the administration look bad if people are all panicked. And so there was that effort to clamp down on that. But I believe there were a lot more attempts and requests from the
Biden
Democrats.
was much more aggressive, much more effective. I agree. But my point was
and
that
just by the
both sides
numbers
would do
too.
it.
More. Oh, sure.
But yeah,
sure.
Biden was far more effective, far more aggressive. I agree. Yes.
And effective because, I mean, remember the big tech. I mean, in the first Twitter files, Taibbi pointed out that something like high 90% of Twitter's employees leaned, or at least the donations from Twitter employees were towards Democrats, political donations.
There we go. So Patty says, yes, I lost a few friends from COVID over a 2-year period, but the first month of this year, other illness took more I have known than COVID did. So I agree with Larry, false counting. Oh, there we go. So someone's on my side. I like that. Yes. The scientific libertarian says suppression of speech is anti-science. It forced people into echo chamber niche groups that were easily manipulated by anti-vaccine groups. If they were allowed to argue about vaccines, they would have opposing opinions to contend with. I agree. Not reassurance about their beliefs. This is true, right? And I'm not anti-vax at all. I mean, if you want to get a vaccine, please get them. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I think his point's a valid one. You should be thinking about your health the smart way that makes sense for you. And I think if I was over 65 with 2 breathing conditions, I'd probably be running to get the vaccine. There's no tomorrow, right? Because I'm ready to be killed by it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll take my chances with a vaccine if I got a thing that's going to kill me. But if I'm 17 years old, why the hell do I care?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do I care?
Yeah.
I'm 70 and I got diabetes and heart problems. Maybe I go over and do it. Maybe I do. I'm 17. What do I care?
Yeah. Now, a big part of the push and marketing to everybody was, even if you're not at risk, do it for everyone else, right? Because
right,
and the line was quote, nobody is safe until everyone is safe.
That's right.
Look for another video on that because that's a good one. But here's the thing is that, the idea that this vaccine was going to make everybody safe, or you getting the vaccine was going to make people safe, that was bullshit because it didn't prevent transition, and it waned like crazy to becoming totally not effective after a couple months. So,
right.
That was just complete bullshit. So I can sympathize. I mean, it's why did so many people get vaccinated? They were straight up lied to. I mean,
yeah,
or
just afraid,
totally misled,
just afraid.
Yes, afraid based on lies, and
yes.
also pressured based on lies. So not
and pressured.
So afraid for their own lives and afraid for their family
losing their job.
Sure. Oh my God, absolutely. But infecting an elderly family member. I mean, these are all reasons we would all get vaccinated. I mean, so
I get it.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I totally get it. So let me go to the last piece if I could. And that's the mainstream media. I feel like it's working, right? I mean, you're in it. So that's why I asked you. I'm an outsider looking at it. And as I look at it, I feel like the comedy thing's working. I feel like guys like you and others in your world, I think it's having an impact. That's my thought process. And my evidence of this is not just because I like it, which is just one thing, but that the mainstream media is trying to now steal it, right? Fox News has Gutfeld on 11, and he's all comedy, right? These are serious things, but it's comedy. And he's killing it. He's beating all the other cable news networks. So now they're considering trying to get comedy at the same time frame. Looking at the newest thing is they're trying to get, I think, Bill Maher to get like a CNN show, or like Jon Stewart to get a CNN show, or something like that. Well, they want to go up against Gutfeld. They want to beat Gutfeld. Yeah. And look, if I was them, I'd want to beat Gutfeld too, right? Wouldn't you? If you were CNN or MSNBC, and he's killing it with what he's doing. Okay, now we got to get our guy to go beat Gutfeld, right? And I think that's what makes me feel like you're winning, if that makes any sense. Because now the mainstream's like, you know what? I'm going to do this. What do you think?
Well, I mean, comedy is always something people like. I don't think that's...
But CNN didn't have comedy, and neither did... CNN didn't have comedy. MSNBC never had comedy.
Fox...
And... Yeah. Fox never had comedy either. Gutfeld is the first comedy show they had.
Right? Fox News. I mean, Fox had comedy, but
I'm sorry, Fox News. I apologize. Sorry. Yes, you're
Married
correct.
with Children, classic. Yes. Simpsons. I mean, right?
Sorry, I meant Fox News. I apologize. We're talking about media, so I went right to Fox. I'm sorry. I meant Fox News is what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Before Gutfeld, Fox News didn't have any comedy shows. CNN and MSNBC still don't have any comedy shows.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're going there. Gutfeld was the first.
Yeah, I mean, their shows have always been a joke, though, Larry. So,
That's true. Yes, it's accurate.
And that's,
yes,
I mean,
accurate.
that's where I get my comedy from. It's like,
that's true. You get a lot of comedy from MSNBC. I guess you're right. Yes.
And CNN,
absolutely.
Those are probably the two biggest sources.
Yes. Well, you have a fan. Pete says, I'm now following Matt on Twitter. Welcome to the rebellion. There we
Thanks,
go.
Pete.
So yes. So we got somebody. The Nooner Eclipse says, Larry, corporate censorship has to do with more money than politics. It's about silencing those opposed to status quo orthodoxy. Remember, Facebook took down anti-war content back in the day. You know, I think there is some truth to that, right? If I'm dropping millions upon tens of millions of dollars on advertising, and I'm mad because Matt's pissing me off with his goddamn videos, if I'm mad at Matt and I call up my YouTube marketing rep, who is, literally taking orders from me quarterly at 8 figures a pop every quarter, and I go, why don't we get rid of this Matt guy? I mean, I think they might act. Am I wrong?
No, that happens. Yeah.
I think he's right.
Yeah.
I think he's got a point.
What did he say? What's the quote?
He says that it has more to do with money than politics. And people want the status quo, right? If I'm selling this or I remember, this is years ago, there was a company called Kerr McGee. I don't know if they still exist, but this is probably 10, 15 years ago. Kerr McGee used to do advertisements on Sunday morning shows, like the shows where the politicians come on and talk about stuff. And Kerr McGee would do this. And he would say, why do I care? What Kerr McGee sells is offshore oil platforms. That's what they sell. Nobody watching CNN is like, man, I need some offshore oil platforms. I should buy some. Nobody's doing that. So why do you buy advertisement on those shows when nobody is going to buy your product who's watching that show, right? That's all done at a much higher level, only for certain oil companies. They already have relationships. Nobody, it's not why? And the goal was exactly what he's saying. It was to control the narrative, right? I'm now going to drop $10 million every month or every quarter, every year in advertising on CNN now. And if I don't want a certain, thought process on my Sunday morning show, which I've now bought, you should pull it off. Sure. I think that's where he's going.
Oh yeah. No, that's absolutely a thing. Yeah. Big.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, is it really left and right? Maybe, but I think it's more to your point. It's establishment. Right? It's establishment versus anti-establishment.
Yes.
I think that's the key piece, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And that's why, you mentioned that all these, the comedians today, the big ones, they're making fun of the left, but it's the established. They're the ones making fun of the establishment now.
Right.
And back in the day, I remember the Bush administration really well. That was probably the peak of, liberal comedy because they were attacking the establishment. George W. Bush administration, that was the establishment. And what they were doing, they were supported by Democrats too. I mean, the Iraq War and everything, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, they both voted for it. But yeah, that's what it's about. It's just, who's the bigger establishment authoritarians at the time. And they get the biggest comedy targeting them.
So guys, if you like what you're hearing, do me a favor, click that like button. It does matter. Absolutely. And please support Matt. Follow him. Follow him on Twitter at 0RF. Looks like Orf, but it's a 0. Or YouTube, Orf, actual ORF. You can do that right there on YouTube and watch what he's doing. Matt, is there anything that I've missed, something we should bring up that I didn't bring up?
I can't think. I think we covered a lot. I'm happy to, touch on anything you or the viewers want to hit on before I head out. It's been fun so far. Thanks for having me.
There we go. No, I appreciate it, guys. I want to say thank you so much for watching this evening. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening it later on, I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed what you're seeing. And if you do, please like it, share it, let people know. I will be back on tomorrow. I will see you all very soon.